This is for the nerds, this is for the brainiacs, this what we deserve. Go ahead and play it back, you ain't gonna touch me, you not gonna do nothing, you are not above me, I bet you wish you was me, I know it, I know.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Only Friends podcast, episode number 74, day 74, and we are without a young Landon Tice.
We are.
Landon made the main event final table last night.
Yeah, it did. Damn sure did.
Landon grinded from 18 down to 10.
Yep.
Landon is not here with us today because he is a fanboy at heart.
Who's a better rel, Landon or me?
Well, they're different. They're very, very different.
The problem is
way different.
you would have never made it that long.
Oh, I'd have been blacked out. Yeah, I'd have been like off in like a corner somewhere sleeping.
Let's, we warned him.
We did.
Just yesterday, we warned him.
Because I can't miss an episode. This is what you guys are going to do when I'm not here.
Yes.
We do gaslight everybody who doesn't show up.
Yeah.
It's a real problem.
Yep.
Do you think Landon Tice was on the rail yesterday as an emotional support service animal? You know, you get in Queens versus Ace King, young Landon's there and says, hey, this is totally fine. The machine says that for 45 big blinds, regardless of ICM on the biggest stage on it. Do you think Landon Tice, when lefty folded ace queen on king, queen, queen, deuce, deuce, was there going, no, the machine will not allow this. You just take your lumps and you exit the tournament right here, right now. I feel like this was Landon's role on the rail. Mm-hmm. I feel like this is why he needed to be there until they played down to the final 10.
Well, somebody's got to do it.
Yeah.
Someone needs to be there to pat the bust outs on the back and say, hey, when your time comes, you die. Who better? Who better than a young-spirited Tice?
Child of the sim.
Do you think he played the role of Dan O'Brien for those who had an early demise prior to the final
he should know
table?
it off by heart by now, right?
As they exit the arena, instead of walking up to Kara Scott to get their interview, Landon intercepts them and goes, hey, I just want to pass along some advice that Uncle Dan told me. This is probably the best run you'll ever have of your life. In no way, shape, or form should you expect to duplicate said run.
Speaking of the best run you ever have in your
Shut
life.
the fuck up. Turn the goddamn TV off.
Slow clap for Berkey.
Good job, Berk. I thought you were referencing the Pirates.
No.
I did too.
I was referencing your
Seventh
7th
place.
finish.
100%. Lamana's watching the Pirate game while he is participating in this podcast.
It's 1-1 in the 8th. Do you want me to 9th? Do you,
I
they got out of the
Yeah,
inning.
they got out.
See, I 100% thought that he was when he said, speaking of a good run.
Yeah.
I died. A painful death.
I mean, it was a good run.
It's hard to win tournaments, man.
So hard.
It's so fucking hard. It was a very weird dynamic. It was actually very similar to the dynamic of the main event table yesterday, or the final 18. So when they redrew, somehow one table of 9 yesterday in the main event had an average stack of like 30 bigs, and the chip leader was only like 50 bigs. I think like 24 million or 25 million was like the top stack. At the other table, there were 4 or 5 or 6 stacks maybe that were like at the 50 big blind plus threshold, including the chip leader and second in chips. So it's this weird thing that takes place where when that distribution happens, the tournament is going to slow to a crawl, because now you have all the medium stacks that are super, super ICM sensitive at one table, and they're all effectively incentivized to collude. Not to collude, that's the wrong word. I don't want to put a negative connotation to it,
Right.
but they're incentivized
It's an
to
unspoken agreement.
they're
essentially.
incentivized to just swap blinds.
Yeah.
And just wait for the large stacks to apply a ton of pressure at the other table. And that's what happened in our event. So when we split to 2 tables, I was chip leading. CSM was 2 to my right, second in chips.
Who's CSM?
Cocksucker Miskowski.
Okay.
And then there were 3 other stacks that were within 10 blinds of us. So I think I had like 50 or 60 bigs. He also had like 50 or 60 bigs. And then there was like 3 or 4 more stacks that were 35 blinds plus with like 2 shorties. At the other table was the biggest stack was 28 bigs. And the smallest stack was like 15. So it took 5+ hours to play from 18 down to 10. And when that happens, you lose so many levels, right? Like, so I was chip leading with 6 million when we got down to the final 18. And when we got to the final, when we were down to 13, the chip leader had 5.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody had separated because at our table, we have these weird dynamics where like the 2 top stacks are right next to each other. And then everybody else is like a medium to top stack. And at the other table, everybody is sweating the pay jumps because they're not last in chips. They're not even close to last in chips, but they're like the dead median. You know, they're 20 blinds, 25 blinds, whatever. And they're just playing really, really tight and really, really slow.
It was painful to watch. I don't know how it must have been. I can't imagine how painful it was to be at the table, just waiting to get to the final table. And it's just like, there was like, what, 2 hours and nobody busted? There was like 16 people left.
At least 2 hours.
Yeah, at least two full levels. Nobody busted. I'm just getting drunker and drunker. I'm like, what the hell's going on here? I'm like, I just have to keep drinking. Why are we not at the final table yet?
I showed up and Brian just gives me, "What's poppin', Connie?" in the loudest form I've ever heard in my life.
I don't know. I just wanted to know what was
Yeah,
poppin'.
I won 1 all in at the final table, and Lamana went ape shit. And the Poker Go
Security
production,
came over, yeah.
I
They-
heard
put
it.
up-
I heard it on the stream.
They referenced it. Ali referenced that perhaps some of the outside noise you hear is due to a deep run by a Yinzer.
Yeah, they're like, you just have to be a little quieter. It's like you're interfering with the main event stream. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll try. Probably last.
It's okay. I didn't win another hand, so
No,
that
you
was
didn't.
fine.
There was nothing else to cheer for.
But yeah, it was an annoying experience. I was talking to Dan about it this morning. He's like, what do you think about the final 2 tables play? I was like, it's very rare that I look at like late game in a tournament and not look at a bunch of spots that I wish I could have played differently. I don't have any of those. Like I lost a flip for chip lead. So right as soon as I got up to 6 million, I ended up playing a 4 million chip pot with ace king versus queens. Flop the joint, just comes queen jack 10, and he turns me dead. So now the stacks are distributed 4 million, 4 million, 4 million. And it's like, okay, well, this is going to be a fucking nightmare.
Mm-hmm.
But there was one point with, we were on a pay jump. So I want to say it was with 13 left or 12 left, wherever that pay jump is prior to the final 11-10. We were on a pay jump, and there was the big blind only had 4 bigs, and the chip leader had opened, and it folded to him, and he's in the tank. And at the other table, it went raise, 3-bet, 4-bet all in, or it just went raise, 3-bet shove, something like that. And now the person who had opened that covers is also in the tank. So now what's happening is both players are trying to out-tank each other in an instance where neither's incentivized to make a decision until something happens, right? So we call the floor over, and here's where we made the mistake. Somebody called clock on our table, which is what got the floor over there. But what we should have done is say, hey, clock both of these guys.
Simultaneously,
Right.
of course.
So we say that, so the floor comes over, we call clock or whatever, and it's unfair to the guy with 4 blinds. I mean, it's slightly unfair, right? He only has 4 blinds. The other guy's all in for like 20. But he's now the one getting the clock put on him because nobody's doing anything at the other table because it looks like a bigger decision.
Right.
And we're like, can you please clock the other table too? This is unfair. And the floor looks at me and goes, nobody over there called clock. And it's like, you're the TD, man.
Yeah.
Use your discretion. Like,
Right.
This is obviously a bad situation for one of these players, and it's unfair, and you have the right and ability as the tournament director to rectify that.
And they should know, like, it's not like this has never happened before.
This is what I've been talking about all week, where upper management in most, if not all, tournament tours, with the exception, I would say, of like PokerGo. I think that those guys are fantastic because they have to be running high rollers, right? They get privy to strategy so much faster because everybody else is mimicking what the best in the world are doing, right? And it's like they have to run a world-class operation, so they just get sharp much sooner. And it's also a small player pool. So they have to deal with these problems ahead of time because they're always going to present themselves in a 30-man field, right? But when you're talking about like bigger open fields, WPT's done an okay job of handling it, bringing in the action clock. WSOP has not addressed it at all, in my opinion. And, when you start to get to the smaller tours like Mid-Stakes Poker Tour and all these other things, I'm certain that they don't have answers either. What you find is that the management working these events are not sharp on MTT strategy. And in the past, they didn't need to be. But you absolutely do now because the majority of the strategy is manipulating the structure. Mm-hmm. Whatever structure you give me, my job as a professional is to manipulate the weaknesses in that structure and garner more EV out of it. And that's actually what's happening. And there are reasonable voices in the community who know a lot of what to do in MTTs to garner EV and that are saying, stop this.
More and more people are learning this.
Correct.
And so it's happening more often.
Right. Or they'll just mimic, even if they don't know why they're doing it. Like a recreational at the final table yesterday asked me, he goes, can you answer me why they leave a chip behind? And he had just been leaving a chip behind when he goes all in. He didn't know why. He just knew it was good.
Right.
And so I explained to him why. He goes, oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense now. And it's like, yeah, of course. So, I don't know if that's necessarily a problem. It's probably not. But things like stalling and basically pay jumps as a whole are creating massive structure issues that if we don't have a shot clock, really deteriorate the tournament as a whole. Outside of one guy collecting a bunch of chips because he won a couple core spots, we got to the final table and the average stack was like 20 bigs. That sucks in a tournament where the average stack was like 50 the whole way through or 40. The hour level structures are really good, but man, they get obliterated coming down the stretch. And the same thing happened in the main event. Last night we saw they got down to 18 at 11:30, I think. They wrapped at 7 o'clock in the morning.
So wild.
That's a full day of play, man. That is a full day of play.
After playing 6 12-hour days.
Yeah.
I mean, the endurance is insane.
Yeah.
It's insane, but it's also predictable. And it's unfair that we can see these problems in advance and don't do something about it. I was going to talk about this later, but it seems like as good a time as any to bring it up. Twitter was ablaze last night. A lot of really strong voices in this community are saying, like, this can't happen. And the reason why it's coming to light this year specifically is because, again, strategy keeps evolving. So these 18 players are significantly more aware of how to ladder, how to be ICM sensitive, how to take your time. I mean, we saw multiple hands that cracked the 10-minute mark for a single hand, right?
Yeah.
So there were a handful of tweets that came out. AMAC that you just saw basically said, this is the biggest spot ever. You can't be playing this long. Same thing with Landon. Putting in a 17-hour day. Dan Smith also basically talking from his own experience, saying like, I've played or this was the best run World Series by a huge margin, but allowing them to play this long of a day on day 7 after putting in 6 12-hour days is just egregious. Seaver, same thing. What you have to bear in mind is like, this is the time where the majority of the money is on the line. Yeah. This and the final table, right? And the final table, they do a great job of breaking it up. They don't say, hey, we're going to play to a winner, because they know it'll take 20 hours.
Right.
So they say, hey, we're going to play from 9 to 6 or 10 to 6. And then we're going to play 6 to 3 and then 3 to a winner.
I think this year it's half and half. They played a 4
Yeah,
and then
they
they
played a 4.
finish it.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's
they play
dicey.
they're going to play from 10 to 4 and then finish it out the next day.
We're looking at long days, man. Yeah. We're looking at long days. Last year they got saved because nobody seemed to give a shit about pay jumps. And honestly, it probably had a lot to do with the massive, it was so flat from 10 to 18 that I imagine nobody gave a shit. It was about getting ninth or better, right? But there should have been a big bubble. Oh, well, actually, that makes sense why there wasn't, because they play a 10-handed final table. So there should have been a big bubble at 11th, but it doesn't really matter because laddering to 10th does nothing for you except get you at the final table. You need to actually ladder to 9th. But now that they actually made those jumps smaller, and it's a little less, or it's more flat, I guess, across the board from 18 all the way to 1, you see what we saw last night, right? And that should be the way it's structured. But this now needs to be said. You need to play from 35 down to 18, call it a day. They'd put in a full 10 hours, call it a day.
What do we think about shot clocks in the main? Like when we get down to like 100 players or so.
I don't think it's necessary with 2-hour levels.
Yeah, I felt like it wasn't. There was no excessive tanking, like pre-flop tanking and stalling and stuff like that. People were legitimately in big decision when they tank. So
yeah, I think that's true. I think that those of us who are a little bit more grizzled in the game are a little bit less patient for like an 8-minute decision, like the Ambrego hand, even though it's justified.
Yeah.
Right. I fully do think it's justified. It's just I don't know that it matters all that much if he has 2 minutes to think about it or 8.
That's what I was going to say. Like at some point you've ran through all the information in your head and you just don't know what to do, or you're stuck at a point where you're just like, yeah. So you just sit there. Like it's not like he's. I mean, maybe
he knew he had to call. The way he put it in, he's just like, fine.
Yeah.
Show me the nuts.
Like, are you going to think about something different after 10 minutes, after 5 minutes? Maybe you are. I don't know.
Well,
maybe you're trying to get a read. Maybe
there's the element of waiting the guy out.
Yeah, there's right. There's physical
oh my God,
reads
sitting there for 8. I really empathized with Dobrik in that moment.
Hold your poker
just
face
sitting
for 8
there
minutes.
for 8 minutes. Like I would have sweat dripping down my. I would be like that meme of that guy with the sweat.
And like the
Honestly,
biggest
I might
money,
just break after like 3 and just be like, just take it, man.
Yeah.
Just take it.
This is too much. This is too much. Like it's just so painful to sit
let me
there
out of the cage.
when
Shit, if
and you
that's the
could
case,
tell
then.
that he was gonna call. Like he was just like
Yeah.
sort of
All of
mustering
his
it up.
manners-
You could tell he was gonna call.
I obviously
so
didn't
just
see the
sitting there
hand, so.
knowing that he's gonna call and he's just delaying it, and you're like, is there any chance he's gonna fold? Like no. Oh my God, but I have to sit here like this and pretend that it's like I have the nuts. It's just like you're sitting there, is so much pressure. I would be like pouring sweat.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely a part of him that probably just wanted to die to get out of the cage.
Like
although,
just...
he is Eastern European. He's seen darker days. I'm sure that there was a part of him who's just like, I don't care.
Yeah, he's like, this is the hand. I don't care.
I am going to break you one way or another.
And then he got his chips right back.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit more about that as we go. I want to kind of put a bow on this. Well, first, that happened at the final table yesterday, where one of the recreationals jammed, and one of the guys who was like top 3 in chips goes into the tank, and it honestly was like, for all intent and purposes, it was a trivial spot. Like it's pretty clear fold spot. Just the way the texture had run out in the action, it's like it's a really under bluffed line already. Like it's really hard to find bluffs, and the fact that it was coming from a rec, it was like almost a 0% chance he was bluffing. But the kid was in the tank for 5 minutes. And I was just like, okay, like clock. And everyone's like, come on. I'm like, what do you mean, come on? This isn't the main event final
Completely
table.
Reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, he literally just took 10% of a level to make a decision that's always going to yield fold. Like he's just folding here 99% of the time. And when he does it, it's almost certain to be a mistake. But like, I don't think if I give him another 6 minutes, he's going to make said mistake. So let's get on with our lives. Like we have to normalize calling clock. I think that if we're not going to have any other corrections take place, we literally have to normalize.
I think
like,
pre-flop, it makes sense.
Did I tell the pre-flop story yesterday where I couldn't get the floor to clock the guy?
Yeah.
I told it to you in the car. Did I tell it on the pod?
No, I don't think you told it on the pod.
You said it in WhatsApp.
Okay. So with were we on the bubble or on a pay jump? Either or. We were either on the bubble or on a pay jump. And
it was a pay jump because it was less than a buy-in.
Yes,
it was a $1,500 pay jump for a $2,500 tournament.
So we were on a pay jump, and there was a Euro at my table who had like 4.5 blinds, and we just started a new level. So the clock had literally just reset. It's our second hand at the table, and it folds to him, and I'm watching the clock. I'm in the blind, so I'm super invested, and he takes a full minute and hasn't acted yet. And I'm just like, okay, I see where like this can't happen. Clock. And the dealer is like flustered. Like, why would you ever clock someone pre-flop? Like, she just doesn't understand. I'm like, clock. And she's like, what? And I just get out of my chair and yell floor. So he's like,
Old man yells at cloud.
He's like, definitely Berkey.
I mean, he's just like, what's going on? So he comes over. He's like, what's the problem? I was like, clock. And he looks at this kid who's like sitting pre-flop, and he can't believe that I'm calling clock on someone pre-flop. I'm like, it's been 2 minutes. So the clock now has like 57:30 on it, and the floor has not initiated a clock call yet. And he's like perturbed. So as he goes, has he had enough time? The kid folds. I'm like, and I look at him, I go, stick around, please.
Yeah.
And the floor just blows me off. Like, I don't know what he was doing, probably coloring up chips unnecessarily. I'm serious. It's just like this idea that there are 4 tables left and the floor needs to be doing due diligence to get smaller chips off without a color up break is crazy.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to have a break soon enough to do all of this.
Yeah.
And it's only 4 fucking tables, man. Relax. Help us navigate the structure better. Please do your job. So the very next hand, it folds to him, and I give him 20 seconds. After 20 seconds, it's very clear he has no interest in acting. I yell clock again. This poor dealer, like, she doesn't get it. And she's like, not upset with me, but she's like taken aback. And now I'm like getting visibly frustrated. So I yell for the floor again, and he comes over and he's like, what? I'm like, clock. Like, clock. And the other Euros at my table are like, come on, man. I'm like, what do you mean? Come on. I'm chip leader of this tournament. And this guy's taken over a minute, 2 hands in a row to act.
Yeah.
And so now this is where like I almost lost it. Now, before he can initiate the clock call again, the kid shoves for all but 1 chip. And I'm like, okay. So he shoves for like 4 blinds, folds to the big blind. The floor's walking away. And I go, don't leave. Don't leave.
Right.
The other guy goes all in. The big blind goes all in. Comes back to this kid, and he starts tanking again. And I give him more time than I should because somebody was all in at the other table. I give him like 45 seconds, and I go, clock. And now the floor finally like initiates it on him because he has 1 goddamn chip, and now it clicks in his head like, oh, I see the game he's playing here.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you think? This is why I argued so hard with the Paulo, where he was just like, oh, just keep the floors around. They're really reasonable. Not only will they clock him every single time, but they'll keep reducing the amount of time that he has in his clock. It's like, no, they fucking don't. And no, they won't. Like, sure, should they? Yeah. But like, you know, especially big field events, we were talking about like the Millionaire Maker. It's like, bro, there's 100 tables left. Nobody's orchestrating a clock call for you.
Right. You can't.
So he doubles that hand, and I'm just like, this is going to be an absolute nightmare. Fortunately, I cooled him off the next hand, and he was dispatched of, and we got to the pay jump. But he actually made the pay jump, so good for him. And I want to be clear, like, I wasn't upset with him. I understand what he's doing. Everything he's doing is within the rules. It's just like, holy fuck, man, if we don't do something to correct for this, we're just going to be playing these structures where when all the money matters, it's a Giga Turbo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like kind of what it turned into yesterday. One guy had all the chips. Everybody else was 20 to 25 bigs.
I know that does happen in like a lot of tournaments. It's funny because like I do that stuff when I'm playing online tournaments, like leaving the 1 chip behind, tanking, but it's like I feel worse doing it live.
Well, you should, because there's no boundaries.
Yeah.
There's a clear boundary that you can't cross online, which is expiring your time bank.
Right.
Once that's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
Right. But live is just like, if I hadn't clocked this kid the first hand, he might have literally tanked. He might have tanked for 6 full minutes. Yeah. It's just like
5 big blind average at the final table.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's like the whole bigger point I'm talking about is that like TDs and floor persons and higher ups that are creating structures have to get somebody to consult with them with regards to modern day strategy. They just have to, man. This is as bad as like a baseball manager not having an analytics guy. Like, you have to be tapped in to what the field is doing and how they're taking advantage of your oversights. And that's all they are. All of these structural problems, all of the tanking problems, they are all oversights by the people who are managing these events. And they absolutely can be corrected for. Maybe there's no perfect solution. I'll admit to that. But like, there are solutions. There are steps that can be taken.
That payout structure was wild, though.
Which one?
Yesterday for your tournament.
Oh.
It was like 30K for 10th on the unofficial final table.
Yeah.
First place was 500K. 6 figures started at 4th place. So it was just like a small, tiny. It was like 30K, then like 40K, then 50K, then 60K. Then it's just like woof.
Yeah.
And all the money.
I actually think it was okay though compared to some of the other ones I saw. Like I thought the housewarming one was really egregious, where it was like 700 to first and 400 to second. Like those discrepancies should just never be taking place in a final table format. You want it to be. Honestly, the flatter it is, the less pay jumps matter and the less tanking and shit like that.
Well, that's what I'm
place.
saying. Like, even at the final table, it's going to be a nightmare. It's so brutal because these pay jumps matter so much.
Why is it not?
You're not going to have the tanking because it's only one table,
right.
But it's still like play gets, I don't know.
Why is it not like universal? Like, why isn't every tournament the same?
That's my biggest issue.
I don't
I've been saying
understand,
this for years.
I mean, when you play online, like they just have a payout table, and you can see there's this many people, they pay this many spots, and here's the percentages.
Right.
And I think it's the same for all of them.
All of them.
Right.
And they have the liberty
not
to pay differently if they want to.
Yeah.
But no one does because it's just
I
industry
understand
standard.
some of the tournaments where it's like we're guaranteeing this for first place, then you have to obviously manipulate it. But like just a normal random 2,500 should be the same as the normal random 5K. Or
I just think that there's, I think that there's a lot of arrogance around the autonomy for being the head of whatever event or tour or whatever it is that you run, right?
Like, something to do.
Well, it's not that. It's
No,
more so that like
yeah.
you want to try to advertise that you do something better than the competition.
Yeah.
And I think that autonomy should be there, right? There should be room for innovation, but there shouldn't be room for contrarians for the sake of contrarian, right? Like there's just no need for it. Like sure, if you want to run a winner takes all format where you facilitate chops if they so deem to do so, and that's every payout table for you, great, do it. I don't care. I mean, I think it's stupid, but like you'll fail because of it. Like try it, whatever. In a small field, it's probably okay. But the bigger point is that like it's so hard for the consumer now. You're basically forcing the consumer to project or predict how you're going to run your event based off of just a structure sheet. And they also need to predict then what liberties you'll take with subject to change at tournament director's discretion. They have to project or predict what your payout table will be. And I know that like, you know, WSOP has a calculator or whatever, but it's not that easy to utilize. We tried to do it for the Millionaire Maker and you were pretty fixed on having to guess the field size and, you know, basically like the variables are just too much. And it's not going to help you all that much. I think that like if we were able to start standardizing structures and payout tables, at least as a default, like here's the standard structure, here's the standard default payout table, et cetera, and encourage people heavily to use it, but give them the autonomy to shift off of it. Like basically, if they had to advertise that this will not be a TDA structure or will not be a TDA payout table.
Right.
Now, we're a lot more educated. We're not guessing. And I'm all for this, right? Do that. That's great. But, you know, there's no reason to just like buck trends for the sake of being stubborn. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to have shot clocks because fuck these people. That's what it feels like. I know that's not what's actually being said, but that's what it feels like. You know, it's not like we don't have the manpower technology to run it with 4 people or 4 tables left at an event. Just seems kind of crazy.
Costs a lot of money to get iPads, man.
Nah, please, come on, man. I mean, on a side note adjacent to that, these fields are remarkable this year.
They popping.
Yeah.
They are popping.
They are
shit.
fucking popping.
I thought the 5K freeze out yesterday was going to bomb. I thought it was going to have like 150 runners with Venetian competing, offering a better structure and a guarantee. And it blew up.
How many did you get?
When I busted with 2 hours of reg left, it was 750 people.
Really?
And it's a freeze out. It wasn't even a re-entry.
The one I final tabled last year was 580.
Yes. Yeah. And, you know, obviously we knew we were going to see an increase post-COVID, if we can call this post-COVID. But these field sizes are just out of this world, man. Like, this is the second time I final tabled a 2,500 freeze out. I guess this was one re-entry. The first time was a freeze out. and in 2011 it was 725 for first. So the fact that we're getting closer
Yeah.
to the, and also it only paid 10% of the field, so it was probably only 1,500 runners compared to like the 1,250 that they got this year. I mean, this is
And the second biggest main event in history.
yeah.
I mean,
The 5K got 736 runners, and it's 665 the first.
Oh wow, man,
poker is popping.
that's crazy that. Maybe registration wasn't open as long as I thought it was.
Yeah.
Or maybe I busted later than I thought I did.
Still great.
But yeah, that's really good. Yeah, and again, like the end of summer 5K that I final tabled in 2013, first place. Would you say first was in this?
665.
Okay, so it's very close. And again, 2013 it paid 10%. I think it was like 7-ish to first. Probably about the same, like somewhere between 600, actually probably somewhere between like 800 and 1,000 runners. So like, yeah, I mean, maybe we just keep seeing these bigger prize pools and bigger fields because money's just cheaper,
Yeah.
right? Like that has to play a part, I would assume.
Yeah, I think that this main is getting some reach too.
Yeah.
I've been seeing, like, I sent someone I was following from Not Poker, like talking about poker, just seeing it. Like, I think it's really good that Poker Go is sharing like the first 2 hours on YouTube. Like, I think that's great. Put the rest behind a paywall, whatever. But at least people have something to watch. There's like 22,000 concurrent.
You know, we used to watch the whole 9 days live
I know.
for free.
I know.
Yeah.
On ESPN.
On ESPN, yeah.
I know, but no one watches TV anymore.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, but if it were on,
Yeah.
it would. I'm sure it would do 20,000 concurrent
Yeah.
on ESPN.
Probably.
But yeah, you're right. The numbers weren't great. They very rarely actually got flagship coverage. It was like just the final table. And it was almost always ESPN2, ESPNU, ESPN the Ocho. You know,
ESPN Light.
we are absolutely the redheaded stepchild of the sporting community for sure. I think we rank just above darts.
Oh no! You know what gets more coverage? Professional cornhole.
I was just about. God damn it! You undercut me. I was just about to say we're just above darts and just below cornhole.
I see it in poker rooms all the time.
Yeah.
It's always on the TV. Why is it always on TV in poker
I was
rooms?
gonna go with curling.
Everybody can play cornhole. Everyone can play cornhole, and everyone.
I look up and it's like Mike the Situation playing cornhole professionally.
Yeah,
I'm like,
really?
what's going on?
It happens a lot in the Midwest.
Everyone.
Professional cornhole.
Shut the fuck up, Conrad. Everyone thinks they're great at cornhole too. It honestly has the same stigma as poker. Like it's
Everyone
a game
thinks
where
they're good at it.
yeah, it's an everyman game where literally if you've ever thrown a bag, you think you're the best.
Yeah, the worse you are at it, the better you think you are.
Yeah, like sex.
I don't know that that's. Yeah,
Oh.
maybe.
Amongst men, we all think we're Adonises.
I mean,
Oh, really?
I'm so good at cornhole.
Which cornhole are you talking about?
Yeah.
Ay, ay, ay.
Yo, the Pirates got out of the fucking.
I know.
Shut the fuck up.
Oh, man,
Shut your
I
goddamn
want to tell
mouth.
you guys so bad what happened, but I don't know if
Here's
Berkey
the
will
thing.
let me.
Like, look,
It's not poker. It's not baseball related, but
I'm
it's
gonna
something
turn
that
it off,
happened
Brian.
in the game.
I'm gonna
Okay.
turn it off.
Yeah, this is the thing about the game is that I
No
don't
one
care that you're
cares.
sweating it, and I do want to know what's going on because I care about the Pirates at least 10%. But the problem is no one else is watching what you're watching.
No, I know.
So talking about things as though like they just have a quick reference to pick up a
That's why
highlight
I
of the
didn't-
fucking
I didn't say
Buccos.
anything. Did I say
know.
anything?
I'm talking to
Yeah.
Conrad this
Okay,
time.
but here's what happened.
I knew well aware too, but I just
You don't care. Yeah, I get it. You don't care about this podcast.
One of our runners was stole second base, and when he came up, he hit the either the shortstop or the second baseman, and immediately blood started coming out of his mouth. And he's like runs, and he's like calling the trainer. And then I didn't see what happened because we were talking. And then like 5 minutes later, I just see the trainer going out to the field, and he walks out to the middle right by second base, reaches down, picks up the guy's tooth,
Oh,
and
no.
walks back to the dugout.
Oh no.
His tooth was just laying there,
What?
like in the
Why
dirt.
does he need that?
Why does he need his tooth?
Yeah,
Yeah.
hockey players would have just left it.
Yeah. I mean,
Can you
It's
put it
not
back on?
any use to him
I think it's
anymore.
just they just didn't want it on
Allegedly,
the
if you
field.
put it in milk, they can reattach it. I don't know
They
if
just
that's.
put a fake
I mean, you
one in.
reattach
Like,
fingers.
it's
Why
not a
can't you
big
reattach
deal.
teeth?
I don't know, man. I think that's folklore. When I was in third grade, I went up for a jump ball playing football on the playground, and me and Mike Shutt collided face to face, and he knocked one of my teeth out.
that.
And the teacher was afraid that it wasn't a baby tooth because it was a molar. So she was afraid it was a permanent tooth. And so, do you remember Bubble Yum?
Yeah.
The 6 foot.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
the wrap,
bubble tape.
Yeah, bubble tape. Yeah. So they came in like these cases, and it like popped open, kind of like a retainer case. She pours a fucking cup of milk in it, and puts my tooth in there. We go to the dentist, and he looks at it, he goes, "This is a baby tooth that just."
What about the tooth fairy, man?
Yeah, I know. You just lost out on like $2.
Yeah, that guy just cost you
man,
like
I
a
can't get
dollar.
fucking
You
money.
might get a nickel.
But the funniest part of it all is that I had braces at the time. So the reason why I was able to even salvage the tooth is because when it came out, it was still stuck to the brace, just like dangling in my mouth.
That must be such a weird feeling.
Wait,
He
you
also
had
had braces. His mouth was
on-
just like
You
obliterated.
have braces on your baby teeth?
Oh, actually, no, you're right. No, you're
We
right.
don't
I
do
got
that.
braces later. He had braces. That was.
Oh.
So you're right. I don't know how I ended up with the tooth then.
Yeah.
Talking about knocking out teeth stories. I was playing basketball all the time, and
Oh, no.
yeah, I know. I'm going up for a rebound, and my cousin, distant cousin, whatever, he's like 6'8", 300 pounds. He's under there. I hit him with an elbow. I knock out his tooth. Move on. Fast forward a couple minutes. I go into the locker room, getting ready to leave. But one of his friends comes in there and takes the tooth, and he throws it up in the air, and he says, "Remember this." Okay.
Oh my god.
Hold on. Now they're with like a crew of people. It's me, my friend Jamel, Nick, and 2 girls. And I was like, "Yep, all right. So this is how we're gonna do this one, guys. There's a front door and there's a back door. You guys are gonna go out the front door and get the car. I'm gonna go out the back door and I'll meet you over there." That started a huge war at my school for a very long time, but
Wait, why did he throw the tooth at you?
because I knocked it out, they didn't like that.
Oh, so he was about to like beat you up.
Oh, I mean, they were gonna try, but I'm a little quick.
Okay. So that was like
I like that Conrad
the-
doesn't pretend to be tough. He's just like, nah, I'm slick with it. I
Yeah.
get out of
hold
there.
on,
He's
time
just
out, time
fast.
out. If you guys saw the group of people that they were with, you want to talk about a silverback gorilla? You want to talk about yo, nah. Yo, it was 0% chance I was going out the front door.
Oh man.
I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yep. That's being street smart.
There's no pride here.
Like,
Oh, he's a
I'm
hood
not gonna
lawyer.
try to
I know
fight.
what fights
I'm
I can win.
just
There's
out
a
the back
chance I
door.
can win. There's a chance I'm never waking up again.
Yeah. Yep.
So I know Lamana didn't watch any of the coverage yesterday. He was too blacked the fuck out.
Yeah.
And Andre didn't watch it because he was too busy singing Celine Dion at karaoke.
To be clear,
I was also
we
doing
were
that.
sweating you the whole time. Guapo was there with me. Brian. Brian was fucking
Oh yeah, that was a good night.
gone. He was toasted yesterday night.
Yeah, he was lit.
Even this morning, I get messages from his fiance, and she's like, "Hey, fiance, wife."
No, that would
girlfriend?
require a
Whatever.
ring, bro.
Partner.
Relax.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. Michelle, and she's like, "Hey, Brian lost his phone. Can you find it for me?" And then he also didn't have a car
Right.
because he was toasted last night.
This
I'm
sounds
a
like
very
me before I got
responsible drunk.
sober.
I left my car at Bally's. It's
Somehow
still
he
there.
gets blacked out and he turns into a homeless man.
I was so mad because I do pride myself on like getting blacked out and not losing my phone or my wallet or my ID.
Wow,
And
that's impressive,
I
actually.
never do. I'm always very good with
would
that.
always come out of
and
blackouts with my
I was
phone
so mad
shattered.
at myself but it just fell out of my pocket in Andre's
I gotta
cars.
say though, there were so many sweet moments yesterday with Brian. He's like the sweetest drunk I've ever met before in my life. He's just like, put your hand on your shoulder and just like, Andre, I really appreciate you.
That's so nice.
Brian's great
It's so
drunk.
nice.
Wait, how are you not hungover?
Oh, I am.
Oh, he's
I popped the handful of Advil this morning, which
That
when that wears
helps.
off, it's not gonna be good.
Yeah.
There's a nap in my future for sure.
But let me tell you, if you guys ever want to know how to do any of the choreography from Taylor Swift, He knows literally every single one. It's incredible.
Or the lyrics. I know maybe both.
Lyrics and choreography.
I made the choreography up myself.
Yeah.
That was improv.
He really
Must have
prides
been
himself in his
impressive.
ability
Like
to dance.
he knows the songs that nobody's heard before. You know?
You would be
AKA
like,
the songs that 13-year-old girls
Yeah,
listen
yeah.
to.
he would be the no, but like if one of us has a daughter, he's the perfect uncle for a daughter.
Have you heard the
Take her
song
to the Taylor Swift
Cardigan?
concerts.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I never heard that.
I mean,
He's an expert.
look, man, you're just, you're not from
I'm
our
not a
time.
Berkey, do you do karaoke ever?
No, I can't sing. I only will do
Not
the
about being
voice,
It's-
the deep voice
karaoke's
guy
fun.
in Boys to Men.
Yep.
Okay.
Baby.
Yeah, most
Baby, I'm
guys,
sorry.
if they don't really want to sing, they'll go for like a deep voice. Thing.
Yeah,
like
that's
Johnny
all I
Cash.
can bring to the
That's
table.
what Henry was doing in Barcelona.
I could do. I mean, the thing is that I know the words to like every song that I've ever heard. But
Sounds like you're ready for karaoke.
I'm so tone deaf. Not as tone deaf as Lamana, for what it's worth.
In the
so bad.
middle. I'm losing my mind just a little. So why don't you just meet me in the middle? In the middle. Baby.
Thank you.
Well done, Connie.
Oh my God. Connie, why didn't you
starts
come
clapping.
yesterday?
Oh,
Jesus.
Conrad would
I
have
was
been great.
fucking annoyed. I wanted to
He
go
was
home.
annoyed,
and
yeah.
Trying to
Yeah,
get popping,
yeah,
man.
he's trying to get popping.
The irony is Melissa can actually sing very well. I am not as tone deaf as Lamana, but I'm much more tone deaf than Conrad. So wherever I fall in that
Yeah,
spectrum,
Conrad's not very. That wasn't very tone deaf.
that's what I
That's
mean.
pretty
Like,
on tone.
I think that I could do like rap karaoke, but it would be offensive to anybody who likes
Okay,
rap.
Yeah.
You know,
You could do Eminem.
no, not because of race.
we tried that yesterday, and
Oh yeah.
it is so
Eminem is
difficult.
hard.
It's not
It
because
is
of
so hard.
race. It's because of swag. Like
Oh, 'cause- yeah.
I'm just the corny guy who knows every rap
You're
lyric.
self-aware.
Yeah, like,
My prior karaoke experience, I believe you were there, Berg. I think it was our friend Nicole's birthday
Yeah,
party.
yeah.
And so Bergie's there. I show up. My parents are in town. I come with them, and I believe it was you, maybe somebody else singing "Dick in a Box."
yeah.
Right. And my dad just looks over at me. He goes, "I never heard this song before."
Chico's great.
I was like, "Yeah, and nor should you."
Yeah.
I think there is a solve for why like group public karaoke session in our future.
I think
though.
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know,
that would
like
be
a
a lot of
select
fun.
amount of people, only like 10 people qualify.
Right.
But
Yes.
I think that's like one notch above bowling for me, and one notch below.
Top Golf.
Yeah, that's
Golf's so much
perfect.
fun.
I was gonna say putt putt, but I actually enjoy putt putt. So yes, Top Golf. Did anybody else get a chance to watch the coverage?
Yeah,
You
I
watch any
watched
of it?
it till like 3 a.m.
Okay, so
Then
you
I
saw
was like, I
like
need to sleep. I can't.
but you saw like from 35 down.
Yeah.
Did you see the 9-5 hand?
I don't know that I saw that one. I started watching sort of around when Nick and Ollie
Okay.
came on.
Oh no, Nick and Ollie did the call.
Oh, they
Nick's
did?
call on this is
Who was
just
it?
cut
Okay,
to the video,
let's see.
Guapo. Nick absolutely crushes this call.
I do in front. I do believe from what we've seen from Batar, he thought Diaz raised. Sometimes you don't expect someone to limp. I'd be surprised if he didn't think Diaz raised.
We just kind of assume the default setting is a min-raise open.
By the way, what a spot this is for Pojani.
Really? Oh, bigger. Okay. But which city do you prefer, or just different?
They're both amazing. Sydney and Melbourne, they have got Bondi.
875.
The style's good.
I grew up in New York City, so Melbourne just felt like a.
Pojani comes with the raise 1.1.
20, right? There's like COVID shut everything down. Yeah.
Good time
Diaz
to leave
is in.
Australia, I guess.
Big turn
right?
coming.
Top pair, backdoor straight draws. Wait a minute. Whoa.
I must say, this
Yo, he called.
this is one of the. He did it again. He did.
Wait a minute, but he's got his hand face up after
He did the ride the pony again and showed.
Well, he was so eager to mount up that
He min-raised, flipped up his hand, mounted up. Hang on, ruling coming here.
Still expose me.
I cannot expose it. We're going to play. We're going to play the game.
Let's not expose it. Yes, but keep it open. Okay.
Gonna need the repeat. Very interesting dynamics here, by the way. The 6 does come in. Interesting.
Is it on me?
I suppose.
Obviously, all in.
Diaz is out.
All right, now there you can go.
Is he going to it?
Can we get a replay of Bojani riding the pony there after min raising?
Bojani. Okay. Diaz. Check min raise. I'll make the call.
Here we go.
All right.
Okay.
Boys.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Diaz calls.
Foul!
No,
Yes!
Here we go.
Came up and boom. Read it and weep.
You know, I kind of conflict. No, there it is. He did.
Hit it. My man was getting it.
This is like hour 1 of the late night coverage.
my God.
Shulman's already losing it, man. I almost want to go back and re-listen to the final 18 because I can't imagine what 6 a.m. looked like for these two.
Oh my
it just
gosh.
had to be.
I know. I want to go back and watch.
I honestly think that there was probably waves where at some point they were both just so over it and just like so anxious for it to end, and then the delirium sets in, and everything becomes funny. You know what I mean? Like it probably 5-6 a.m. they're just like basically high,
right?
Just kicking jokes back and forth.
Well, at least they were on like hour 9 of commentary.
Yeah, at least.
So at least it wasn't. They had to do the whole. Shit.
No, that's true, but I mean those are long days, especially when you got a guy riding the pony. Hour 1, that's hard to match.
But it makes it easier because at least you have stuff to joke and talk about. It's much worse when you just have nothing going on.
That's true. So I guess what happened is he thought that Lefty folded to the min raise. That's the only thing that makes sense.
And he was happy about it.
Well, he's having to drag the pot. Yeah. But I mean, the only other thing I can think of is somehow he thought that put him all in for like a click. And then just was like
he meant to go all in or something.
Right, but like he wouldn't be that happy. He still has to sweat it.
Crossed
something
there.
fucked up happened there.
Yeah, it happens.
He's just like, what are you doing, man? How is the turn not a jack? or even worse, or not worse, but the turn's a 10. And now he just doesn't know what to do.
Right.
Because do you jam? It's like you just have queen 10.
Yeah.
Obviously you're 10-9. Very, very odd spot.
Wow, you know what would have been crazy if he turned his hand over and he saw it and then he just like bluffed him off it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have the opportunity to because he was in position. But yeah, that was a wild turn of events. I think the next crazy hand, since we're recapping yesterday, the next crazy hand that came up was probably the Attenborough. Sorry, what?
The Dobrik one?
Yeah, the Dobrik Attenborough.
Finish runner-up. And
yes, this would be a 4-bet. It said 3-bet. What have we here, Ali?
Timeout.
To speed.
21.6
in the middle, by the way.
Back at the feature table, made it 1.2 million to go pre. Attenborough flattered from the small blind with this king-queen suited flop top pair. Checked it. Dobrich fired 1.2 with the naked ace-4. Attenborough decided to put the raise into 4.2. Then the third scoop out of Dobrich to 9 million. A flat from Attenborough, and suddenly 21.6 hangs in the balance, and that theme from when these two were seated at the secondary feature carries over.
They've definitely been tussling, Ali. 21.6 in the middle, Dobrich with just ace of clubs, 4 of spades, and look at this. Reaching for third somehow, I believe, kind of in the check calling business. How hard does Dobrich want to go with this one? 32.6 in the middle. Deuce on the river, sort of, let's see. Attenborough checks it once more.
Approaching 1 minute 45 seconds on the decision.
And he does come with jam. Here we are.
Putting Attenborough to a decision for his tournament life.
Real Eastern European gangster there. Attenborough still in the tank. Head down now.
I have no idea what to do.
I have no idea what to do being declared there.
Don't put it too.
Oh my God, he finds the call. Somehow gets there, and we have a new chip leader in the main event.
We sure do, Ali.
He's like emotional after too.
We sure do.
Weird things happen. Weird things happen hour 60.
Yeah, so check raise, 3-bet flop.
The 3-bet flop is like
wild.
Yeah, So here's the thing. I kind of wish Landon was here, but it's like we study MTTs, we study poker theory in general, and we recognize like what is a thing and what is not a thing.
Yeah.
3-betting the flop, largely not a thing, but it exists. It exists in low frequencies. But you're not going to choose a 0 EV hand to do, or a 0 equity hand to do it. Not that ace-4 is 0 equity, but it's ace-4, no backdoor is very, very
like let's
low.
say, he has like ace-king trying to protect against draws and stuff.
And even that hand is like, it has to be the weakest hand that would 3-bet at any frequency for value.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like you have like a touch of ace-king.
Yeah.
You're more so in the king-10 and set range. And then as bluffs, I suppose you want to find hands that either mirror that value. So like bottom pair type hands. I think it was a 3.
Bottom pair backdoors.
Yeah, so
maybe.
like ace-3 with a backdoor flush draw is a seemingly reasonable candidate. A hand like maybe 10x blocking the king-10. Because he called out the small blind, so you don't have to worry about king-3.
Yeah.
So blocking bottom set, blocking top 2, those seem like good choices. You're going to want to have some backdoor equity, and then maybe ever so slightly some gut shots. Right? Like maybe the occasional jack-9.
Yeah.
Maybe the occasional ace-jack seems too strong, but like whatever. Maybe those hands sneak in there. Again, we're talking about a low-frequency play to begin with, and then really low-frequency hands. The ace-4-0 is just heart. It's a fuck you. You're not taking my pot kind of mentality.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I watched the story unfold in
He's like, no, motherfucker, this is my flop.
Yeah, I kind of like watched it unfold in his eyes, though, street by street, because I've been there before. I recognize street poker when I see it. And I know what it's like to not be calculated in a line.
Yeah.
But just have a feeling that's going to work. And
well, he sets up the river jam, and we were messaging on the river like he has to jam here, right?
Right, because
and I have a sinking feeling because I know that feeling where you're like you have to jam, but you're probably gonna get called.
Right, and your plan was so like the 25% pot bet on the turn has no function whatsoever other than to continue to tell the story that you're polarized and will shove river for value.
Yes.
Right? But in theory land, what's probably happening is you start 2-Eing on the turn, which is probably like either third pot or 40% pot.
Yeah.
So you go like 40-40.
Yeah.
But he recognizes that he can't do that.
He needs a bigger river shot.
Right, because he needs to be able to have the all-in pressure on the river for main event life. And he doesn't want this guy to come committed to the pot now on the turn.
Like he wants him to have enough behind that he can justify folding and finding a better spot. Like
honestly, the way the thought process I think goes is you default to the mechanics that you know will function, which is a small 3-bet on the flop, quarter pot on the turn, all in for like 3/4 pot on the river. But what the thought process actually is this 3-bet on the flop is going to work. And then it fails. And you land on the turn and you didn't make an ace.
Right. And
you're like, okay, well,
I gotta win this somehow.
I am going to win this pot still, somehow. And it's not going to be on this street. That's very clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bet quarter pot again. And I'm going to hope to hit an ace again. And if that fails,
then I have to just bluff jam.
I hope I can find the courage. And often, 2 times in my life, I've gotten to that river where it's clear the only reason you took the action up until this point was to be all in on the river. And I've looked the man in the face and just said, no, you know what? Red flag or white flag. I surrender.
The issue is that like when you randomly somehow lose to a better ace high or something there, and
he
then
just
you're
says
just
ace jack high.
I'm a serious idiot.
It's a serious moment of pain.
So it's like you cannot get there and lose to not a king. Like if he is anything but a king, you just have to jam.
Right, yeah. You jam, or sorry, you check back and he just tables the ace jack high and you just tap the table.
Yeah.
There you go.
Just walk away.
Yeah, that would be way worse than jamming and getting called by a king.
100%. That is like legitimately instantaneously
Nightmare.
a qualification for you stink.
You are a huge bitch.
100%, man. I got to tell you too. It's so funny. making that final table yesterday, it was a lot of younger European players who were kind of on the come up, and I was chatting with some of them, and man, my reputation precedes me worldwide. Like I was in some spots, obviously, where I was navigating the short stack a lot, and with ICM and things of that nature, you just don't defend the big blind as widely as you otherwise would, and they're constantly making these comments of like, "You're really trying today." It's like,
yeah, I am.
How bad do you think I am? Actually, you know what? Don't answer that. I don't care. I just don't care. But you know what? Maybe they saw me give up on the river in a spot like that, and now I understand.
Or they seen you not give up on a river.
Right. That too does happen from time to time.
Give up is a hard line to toe.
It's difficult whenever you get out in the streets and you're doing something that's obviously nonsense, but you recognize that you found somebody with a capped range.
Right. You're in no man's land.
Yeah.
And you're like, all right, well.
Yeah.
Either I get shown a slightly better hand and want to die.
Right.
Or we run it.
Right. Yeah. Hey, he ran it, and Attenborough. Am I pronouncing his last name right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I always think of the voice actor when I say that.
David Attenborough.
He's the best.
He was briefly the chip leader after that. Shortly to be overtaken by the two players that I actually know. I mean, I know him relatively well from playing poker after dark with him, or maybe it was high stakes poker. I don't remember.
Who?
Whatever.
Attenborough.
Oh, he played Poker After Dark?
Briefly. He came in late to some high roller cash game that they were running.
Is he a cash player?
Yeah, so I think we talk a lot more about the final table tomorrow as like a preview of everybody, but he mostly plays cash from Australia, or at least he had been mostly playing cash. He might have transitioned to tournaments now.
Yeah.
Matt Su, who's chip leader, tied for chip lead, also mostly a cash player.
It's not surprising that like the cash players do well in this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a structure that, as an MTT professional, probably makes you want to blow your brains out a little bit. Just because you're forced to play in nodes that you're studying less frequently, right? Like there just isn't going to be a ton of study with ICM implications taking place at the post 50 big blind stack sizes. Yeah. But, it happened a ton yesterday.
Unless it's like, I would guess that people who play rest of world sites, because I know like stars and stuff, they'll have pretty deep final tables, like average 50, 60.
It happens. It happens, but it's less common than you think. And also that's at the final table. So it's a lot more clear what the ICM is. Yeah. It's challenging with like 3 or 4 tables left.
Yeah.
We're actually about to see a hand that launched Espen into the chip lead with 2 tables left. This hand's brutal because on the surface, it just looks so standard, right? 50 big blinds, ace, king versus aces, whatever.
Feature table, your stat is opened to 1.6 million. And Kunze has 3-bet him to 5.2. With his ace, king, he is in heaps of hurt.
See what your stat comes with.
Requesting seat change.
Yeah. So he is cutting out an assortment of pinks.
Yep.
And for Kunze, in the face of the 4-bet, let's observe. Ace king off certainly starts to shrink up.
Fact. Doubtful to have been lost on Kunze, but yet he does put the 5-bet all in out there. Snapper coming.
Aces, ace king.
He sure does, Ali, and you can feel the pain.
Your stat keeping the rail apprised. Burn down, 3 off the stub.
Oof, spades working as well, and that lookabout says it all. Somehow just a 4-1 favorite. Your stat.
Spade would be
the next torture card.
Yeah.
For your stat, that
a puckering card, if you will.
Man, this is a sick tournament, man. This is a sick tournament.
I'm telling you.
Your stat.
Nice to feel alive again.
I'm just trying to feel what absence is.
Been dead for so long. Feel my pulse.
Fade the 10. Here it is. 7 of clubs. Espen, your stat.
Wow, yeah.
will
So I think that
emerge.
happened with 14 or 15 left. That's a massive ICM pot.
Yeah.
Massive.
100
And-
big blinds.
It's like a
pot.
Yeah.
$2-3 million pot.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, so I think that they were like 50, 55 big blinds effective to begin the hand. Espen opens under the gun. I can't remember his name. Is it Cruz or
Cruza or something.
Cruza? Yeah. Cruza 3-bets ace king, covering Espen. Seems probably reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm only saying that with a grain of salt because I'm sure more flatting starts to take place
With ICM.
in these tight formations when you're that deep.
Yeah.
It's
From what
such a
I've
disaster
seen-
to play an all-in pot with ace king there.
Yeah. I know, especially for 50 bigs. And
Yeah, I think like 5-bet ranges shrink to kings plus.
right, because he's not having as many 4-bet bluffs there.
Correct.
So
Yeah, both in.
if anyone's gonna have 4-bet bluffs, like he will.
It's for sure going to be Espen,
Yeah.
but you know.
but
you
not
don't-
in that spot necessarily.
Yeah, and you'd almost rather have queens or kings than ace kings because you don't want to be blocking his suited wheels.
Yeah, I mean,
that are gonna run it.
that's true. Yeah,
Like, he's
'cause
definitely
in
never
his
sho-
mind, he's probably like, I'm blocking aces and kings.
Right,
but
which
he's
is obviously
also blocking
important.
the 4-bet bluffs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm just relatively confident off 55. He's just not 4-betting queens.
yeah,
And if that's
yeah,
the case
he's flatting,
now,
I think.
yeah, if that's the case now, blocking aces and kings probably doesn't matter as much,
Right.
because you're either against, like his range is probably kings, aces, ace king, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe,
You
or
don't
maybe
really-
only like ace king suited. I don't know.
Probably don't want to have that many 4-bet folds there. Like, so.
Well, you don't have that many 4-bet get-ins,
Yeah,
so it's like
exactly.
if you only have, call it 15 combos of hands that 4-bet for value. So like, let's say 3 combos of ace king, kings and aces, and maybe kings don't even 4-bet all the time. Then you only need like one group of suited wheel aces, like maybe just ace 5 suited
Yeah.
to be relatively balanced.
5 ace 4.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know, man. I think that like the 5-bet is probably pretty punty. I think that this is one of those situations where with ICM implications being what they are,
Yeah.
and having I don't think he was a chip leader at the point, but he was probably like second
He
or
had
third.
just, he was kind of running hot at that point. Like he had made a couple sets and
Yeah.
gotten paid, and he had just busted Tran. And they said when they were calling it, they were kind of like, I wonder if him running hot has sort of
Right.
any psychological effect. It's late in the day. Maybe he's thinking he sort of has that invincible feeling.
Yeah.
And so he might just jam it in, and then he did.
Well, that's the other thing. Like, we're armchair quarterbacking. We didn't put in a 16-hour day yesterday, right? Like, I'm just basically theorizing way after the moment.
Right.
I'm not criticizing him at all for
Yeah,
getting
yeah,
in with
yeah.
ace king. You can't make that big of
Just
an
the
error.
spot as it is.
But yeah, like the spot in that moment with 14 or 15 left in the main with a lot of money up top. Sure, you can make some cases that like maybe you got to run it here because you just win the tournament sometimes when you win a
Yeah,
flip.
right.
But I'm kind of making the case that I don't think he's
You're
flipping.
not really flipping ever.
Yeah,
He's
I don't think
not.
you're-
He doesn't have jacks for sure. He doesn't have queens probably.
Right. And I'm not positive he has kings in full,
Yeah.
which is really, really bad for
Yeah,
ace king.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he has like only aces.
Well, not only aces, but it's like aces with a mix of like ace, king, kings,
Yeah.
and then whatever he's filling
You're
his
chopping at best.
whatever he's filling his
basically.
4-bet folds with, right? Maybe he's mixing in some small pairs, maybe he's mixing in some small suited wheel aces, like, but he's opening a relatively tight range. It's not going to be uber nutted. They're
Yeah.
7-handed.
Yeah.
But I imagine that he's mindful of the fact that somebody covers him to act behind.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
Oh,
it's
that's brutal.
interesting. It's always fascinating to examine these spots a little bit deeper thereafter.
Right.
Which is a good segue into the final hand that we're going to look at, which was lefty David Diaz finds himself in a situation where he has the second nut boat on the
Picking
end.
up.
Well, third nut boat, I guess.
Barnes' situation, and my goodness, this is disaster for lefty Nick. Trip queens.
Such a sick hand to get right
Binks
after you
on the
touch it.
turn.
He's got a bunch of chips back. That's so nice.
Such a great job of averting. Oh,
Maybe
man,
it's Jack
this
Six,
is
not river,
cold.
maybe Dante cold.
I suppose he defended against the Farns Open. We slid out to the outer feature where we had just seen Farnes opening. Would assume most of us expect him to do is something like a 10 or jack of diamonds. $19.6 in the middle. Oh.
Indeed, Farnes does flat. Now the deuce on the river.
Not sure, Ollie.
JJ.
Yeah. Some of the enchilada.
Exactly sure what he's going for.
Come on.
I'm an idiot.
Does get away, bravo, sir. That's how you live to fight another day there, Ollie.
Sick.
Show respect.
Sick. Especially that late in the day.
It didn't take that long to fold.
Well, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, right.
Because when I was talking to Melissa about this in the car a little bit, his value bet on the end is a lot thinner than it appears because it's difficult for him to get called by worse, right? So he's kind of he's targeting like ace king, aces, and ace high. I guess like jacks also, but I assume the flop went.
I don't think ace high is gonna call there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming the action went open by king's pre, flat out of the small blind by lefty with ace queen, flop king queen deuce, and then I assume it either went, well, judging by the size of the pot, it very likely went check, bet, call, turn queen, lefty blocks, which is good. Kings then calls. So now it's like you're counting on in position. It's unlikely, I think, that he bets jacks or tens on flop, facing small blind defense. You're just against like a really dense queen, king X
Honestly,
type of range.
that block on turn is, it probably is what, because if he just check called, like he's probably out.
Yeah, for sure. He
but
has
the fact
to be.
that he blocked, got called, then he did sort of like a 40% block.
Facing a turn bet though is scary. Because when you don't, the reason why you block is because it should go check like 99% of the time.
Yeah.
So it's really scary. And then when the deuce comes off on the river, you're losing to one combo of deuces, 3 combos of kings, 3 combos of king queen. So you're actually losing to 7 combinations.
Yeah.
A chop is almost certain to never jam.
Right.
Because you could just be flatting king queen for sure. And now what my kind of debate is do we get called often enough when we bet like 40% pot there on the end by aces and ace king to warrant it?
No. I think that like
his hand seems so face up as a
10
queen.
or 25% you would.
Yeah, that's what I said. I think I like B10. But the problem is then when he gets jammed on, he probably calls.
Yeah.
So 25?
No. I still think it's B10.
Yeah.
I just think like
You think he calls if he gets jammed on by B10?
I think so because it seems so inducey. But the thing is that we would have to give imposition credit for finding bluffs.
Yeah.
Which means that he's going to have hands like Jack 10 and Ace 10 here that he's just, or Ace 10, Ace Jack,
I mean,
Jack
bluffing
10.
into that line would just seem suicidal with those
Correct.
hands. So it's pretty much always value.
Yeah. So I think maybe his bet size on the end is probably just a little bit too greedy and should have either been like, I think if you check, you do run the risk of paying off a bigger amount. But
It's
if
a harder decision to check
for sure.
than to bet fold.
For sure. Because now a chop certainly could be betting.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think if he just like, basically I'm just making a case that he could have lost left, which is a silly case to even be making because we should just be
A lot of people just go broke there.
Yeah, we should just be celebrating this fold.
And he got a pay jump from it, 115K.
That's what's the most remarkable thing. Like, not only did he find a way to fold effectively a nutted hand, but he did so leaving himself with I think 15 bigs and worked the pay jump. That's a 6-figure payday, man. Like it really does. It's everything I hate about MTT play, but it really does highlight how critical it is to understand the nuances when it comes to short stack play, navigating pay jumps, understanding ICM to at least a loose degree, knowing your incentives, knowing how money is supposed to go into pots and who is and who's not sensitive to those factors. I think like Lefty impressed the shit out of me. I haven't really heard his name much in the last 4 or 5 years. Used to be a reg on the scene, grinding pretty hard. Florida guy, but really good to see him get out there. Congratulations on 13th place finish. That's a once in a lifetime finish. And it's kind of crazy too, because like Melissa and I were talking about this in the car as well. Imagine, what do you think is more difficult? Winning a Florida 3500 open field WPT or getting 9th in the WSOP main event?
Wow.
Oh, winning's so hard.
Yeah, winning.
Winning's just
hard.
you know.
Dan
Right? Like,
Lash has done it 8 times.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but he's not human.
he sold his soul to WPT
we already
gods.
know that.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's so many
Erica-
multiple WPT winners.
Yeah, and they all sold their
Shin says
soul.
9th.
Erica Fratt, whatever his name
They
is.
also get to play more volume.
Like, they all sold their soul. What do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, they also get to play a lot
Where do
more
I
often.
sign up to do that, by the way?
There's a website. It's called www.sellyoursoul.
Oh, okay.
Just ask Apollo. He'll broker the deal.
Everyone says 9th is easier.
No fucking
No
way.
way.
You're
No
all
way.
out of
It's
your
way more.
goddamn
You
mind.
have to get through way more people.
You have to
For
play
way longer.
80 hours.
Yeah, that's what I
It's a
said.
7,000
Right.
person field.
Playtime is just absurd.
I'm
Yeah.
definitely going WPT.
Think how many hours of poker you have to play without busting it. Tournament poker.
There's
It's so
also-
hard.
That's the biggest thing to understand is that the fewer hands you have to play, the easier it'll be for you to win something.
Right.
Yeah, the
Right.
field's like 50x smaller.
Right. If you
Yeah.
have to play 800 hands to win a WPT event.
Oh,
but
hard.
you-
They're saying 9th is harder.
Okay, yeah, of
Okay.
course.
What-
Yeah, if you have to play 800 hands to win a
Gotcha.
WPT over the course of
What's the field size in that?
usually like 1,000 at most.
Oh, that's it.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
I was
thinking it was
it's
like
more the structure,
2,000 or
right?
3,000.
That's going to
small?
facilitate how
Yeah.
fast.
Really? And it's like 800
That's why it's always
for
less than a
first?
million to first.
Wow.
Like
I
5
should play
diamonds.
those.
five diamonds usually like 1,400 people
Uh-huh.
for a 10K, and it'll be like 1.5 to first.
Okay.
The 3,500s, I shouldn't say under 1,000. They range from like 800 to 1,200 people. So
the
you
one
get
that I
somewhere.
played had like 8 million in the prize pool.
Maybe you're right.
But that was a huge one.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm conflating the 5K buy-in with the $3,500 buy-in.
Okay.
The 5K is a smaller field. So yeah, I think you're right. I think maybe it's like 2,000 people.
Mm-hmm.
With like a 7 million. No, because then it would definitely be over 1 million to first. Maybe it's somewhere in between. Anyway, we're just speculating over
Yeah.
things
Not
that
that
don't
it
matter
matters.
that
There's
much.
also re-entries, right?
Yeah.
So I mean I guess it doesn't.
Yeah, it's
matter.
not unique.
Yeah.
But either way, like if we assume, so WPTs are usually like, I think 4-day events, where they're 8-hour days. So if you're playing, call it on average 25 hands an hour, you're playing 200 hands a day over 4 days, 800 hands to win the whole event. Now it's gonna be slightly more because as you get
That's kind
shorthanded,
of crazy.
Mhm.
yeah. So 800 to 1,000 hands to win the entire event. Where do you think, or how much easier do you think it is to just get lucky one time over the course of 800 hand sample versus having to play like 3,500 hands?
And dodge
In the-
coolers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
in the main event,
Yeah.
right? So it's just like it's not even remotely close. You're just it's actually a weird thing because it's like the smaller sample here allows for you to kind of be quote unquote chosen more often. And you would think that the larger sample would allow your skill set to be realized more often. But the reality is both samples are so small that variance is still just like ultimately making a lot of the outcomes pre-decided.
Yeah.
With exceptions of like, lefty folding a hand that's just supposed to bust him.
Right.
And we see that stuff happening a lot in the main.
The long game in live is so long, I'm realizing.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Like, it's just real. I've been lately just trying to wrap my head around the variance of live poker. Because online, it's like a little bit more, you can stomach it a little bit more. It's just seeing how many hands that you're able to play in a day. But with live, like, you can run bad for years.
Well, we just our brains are just in no way capable of comprehending that level of complex math.
Yeah.
Not in the sense that we don't understand the calculations. It's that we can't experience it. Right?
Yeah.
So we can't attach any sort of rational or irrational emotional experience to the actual math that's taking place.
Right.
In order to quantify it in any capacity where we could say like, okay, I recognize I'm playing a game where my skill will actually never come to the forefront. Like variance, no matter what, no matter how good at this game I am, variance will ultimately dictate the ceiling or floor of my success.
Rather be lucky than good.
Right. Now, that what needs to be understood is that doesn't disqualify the skill, right? Your ceiling is still tremendously higher than it would be without the skill, right?
I mean, how often do you see people, they get like cooler people twice in a row, have a mountain of chips, and then like a level later, they've like dusted all of it off from winner's tilt or something crazy.
Yeah.
They just think that they can't lose anymore.
Yeah, or nothing like that happened, and they were just dealt spots that cost them chips because that's just the nature of the
a lot
beast.
of middle pairs.
Yeah, but like that's ultimately what I'm trying to arrive at is that like we have very minimal control in the actual outcomes themselves, and we like to believe that there is a very close correlation between our ability, our execution, and the result. And the fact is that due to a lack of sample for the majority of us, there's a pretty heavy lack of correlation between our ability and execution and the end result. Now, of course, we're able to like navigate variance in some capacities. We're able to execute in certain ways that prevent us from taking on the brunt of it. Lefties fold being a good example, right? There are certain aspects of being human that allow us to kind of get outside the path of what is scientifically correct and instead recognize what's exploitatively correct. And that earns us a lot of extra money whenever you're good at it. I was talking to Lamana about this yesterday whenever we were on dinner break. I was like, you know, I'm very thankful for this opportunity that I'm in. I'm very thankful for the money, but I feel nothing. And every time that I make one of these final tables, it becomes less and less and less meaningful. But to the outsider, it becomes more and more and more meaningful because I'm still the guy without a win. I'm still the guy who, you know, this is my 8th WSOP live final table. I've made like 4 out of the last 5 World Series. So to consistently be running through fields of 1,000+ people and making it there, the expectation is you'll close one out. And when you don't, the implication is that you did something that did not allow you to win the tournament. And I am fully accepting that I'm out of control in a lot of instances, right? Like I made the final table this time with 15 big blinds. There's another world where like I just won the ace, king, queen flips and I made the final table with 50 big blinds.
Right.
Yeah.
And those two different outcomes are the difference between maybe 7th and 3rd or 7th and 1st. You know what I mean? It's so much of it is short-term out of our control, but because we live in a qualitative world instead of a quantitative one, we just look at the end result and say like, oh, this guy stinks. Like, I don't care how much money he's made. It probably isn't even all profit. Like, show me his wins. And we think so black and white that it really does ruin a lot of the allure, or maybe not the allure. That's not the right word. It ruins a lot of the marketability of the open field players that are really good at this game. The exception being the outliers. So when you do have a Darren Elias or a Brian Altman that just pillage the same fields over and over and over again, it's impossible to think that they haven't figured something out.
Right. They have to have, right?
I think that they navigate that spectrum that I was kind of speaking to where you can absolutely curb your variance and increase your win rate if you can delve into the human aspect.
Yeah.
I think they just know how to fry fish really well. And that's not to take away from their abilities. They're obviously great poker players.
a lot of reps, like a lot of reps in that same pool.
Yeah. A lot of seeing that under the gun raise off 50, 3-betting with ace king, and then just recognizing that like, oh, 4-bet range here is not what it should be.
Or there's like certain things that people will do that it would never ever be in a solver or a course or anything. Like if you're playing cash and the person limp raises and then jams all in blind on the flop, like they have aces.
Yeah, right.
You have an overpair, fold it.
Right.
You don't have aces, fold it.
Right. Those are really good qualifications because you're right. Like the sim breaks when we take away the rules. Right. Like we're obviously navigating a very specific subset of parameters. That are entered by us. And the second that like collapses, and we say like, well, what happens whenever this guy just like doesn't listen and limps, and then doesn't follow the
rules?
It's like,
oh, well, he shouldn't have that. Well, he does.
Yeah, well, he does.
So now what?
Right, and then he just jams post.
Right.
In the dark. Where's the in the dark setting?
Yeah.
Can someone show it to me?
How do we sim jamming blind before the flop comes out?
Right. Right. So it's like, I think that I think we're turning a corner, and I think that we've learned a lot about general game theory. And I don't think we've come anywhere close to the end of the road. Like, I think we have lifetimes of learning left.
It's just an endlessly complex game.
Yes. But that said, I think that people are understanding there's much more meat on the bone in taking advantage of the human aspect of the game than there is to getting slightly more precise in very nuanced nodes of the game tree.
That you'll come across like once every few months. Whereas you're seeing these huge mistakes that are happening every day and like finding ways to capitalize on those instead.
I think the World Series always shines a light on that. Right? It's just like a collection of poker enthusiasts from across the globe, and then a collection of aspiring professionals and current professionals that are here in the mix. And you get such a healthy mix. It's such a unique ecosystem for a short period of time that it really does reinvigorate that whole idea of like, oh, wait, not everybody is sitting around playing GTO trainers 24/7, running RTA and getting great and operating and navigating like every spot like they're a bot.
Yeah.
Like, people stink.
There is still some art left in this game when it comes to live open field. I mean, how much do you think that like live tells and that type of stuff plays into people like Darren and Brian Altman?
It has to be a lot.
It has to, right?
It just has to be because
they're playing people who are tell boxes. Yeah. Like in those tournaments, like people have a lot of tells. I'm not great at live tells and stuff. Like I haven't played enough live, I think, to know them that intimately, but I'm wondering like how much.
I mean, it's something that I pride myself a lot in and has always been a big part of my game, but the more I learn about the nuances of theory, the less reliant on them they are. And largely that's just because like it's always just been a layup against the recreational who doesn't know what he's doing. Like you didn't have to put that much effort into the tells.
Yeah.
Because it was so obvious.
Like the tells are in his bet size,
Right, but like regs didn't suddenly become immune to being tells. So I always put my big emphasis on like trying to navigate the average reg and understanding like where their tells were coming from. The problem is that their baseline strategies are getting so much stronger that they're a lot more comfortable in all their decisions, even when they are bluffing.
Yeah.
So the tells aren't really quite as helpful in the spots where I need them the most. Where you need that weighted coin, I don't want to mix. I actually want to have a reason for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, other than just like, oh, this is a 0 EV spot. Like I'll flip a coin in my head. I literally did that in the 3K this year, where I was in a river bluff catching spot that I knew was 100% 0 EV, and I was just like, all right, I'm just gonna mix 50-50, and I took the button and flipped it. And it landed black, so I folded, and the guy showed me a bluff.
Stupid button.
It's hard to win flips.
Variance, man.
Hard to
Variance.
win flips.
So brutal. Are you playing any more events? Closer?
Maybe I don't know. You know,
Conrad still has a full schedule.
I think it would be so awesome to run deep in a live event, and you have to enter in order to do that.
Correct.
It's just really.
You seem over it.
I don't like live tournaments.
I don't know if she was ever under it, to be honest.
I was never under it. I was never really like super pumped. I was pumped for the main. The ladies event was fun, but I really like live cash and I like online tournaments.
Yeah.
I don't like
The thing is,
for
if you go and you play a live tournament and you're sitting there and you're like, why am I here? You're done.
exactly, and you need to
torch
really
your buy-in.
you have to really want it.
Yeah,
like
yeah, you gotta
hardcore.
want to be there. You got to
Yeah.
like, 'cause if you're just there and you're just like, I don't care, you're just gonna make a bad call
Yeah,
and just like call it off.
Exactly.
And, like,
How
I just
could you not want to be there?
I know.
It is
it
beautiful.
blows his mind to
I
think
know-
that.
Because I know,
Like I'm
like-
looking at my
I love
schedule this
Yeah.
morning, and I'm like, all right, there's probably like 5, 6
the
tournaments.
contrast.
I know.
There are 5, 6 tournaments left, and then I started looking, I started thinking, and I look at the calendar. I was like, wow.
I just like
August comes a $600 $1 mil in fucking Florida. I mean, end of July. It's not even August.
I would
man.
be
It's
down
like-
to play the Florida thing.
I mean, how can anybody not? They have
But I just know the odds of actually winning the thing outright in that field size is at that as big as the ones that I would be playing, so slim that it's hard for me to feel super jazzed. Whereas if I'm going to just play live cash or something, that's exciting to me because I'm honing a strategy. Like I'm, it's just a different type. I
just a
don't
different
like,
strategy.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just-
but I don't like feeling like I'm
it's
like
survival.
I'm entering the lottery.
Well,
Yeah.
you're entering
know.
into survival.
It's a battle royale versus,
Yeah.
when I was always in Call of Duty, I was always the one who liked to grind to the multiplayer like setting. I didn't like to play Warzone.
Oh,
So
no,
I'm
Warzone
more of
was-
a
Yeah.
stats grinder than a, battle royale player.
Yeah. There's like 5 tournaments left.
There's
Then-
2 for me.
Stop it.
Maybe 3.
But if you want to win
There's
your
a-
bet against Chin, you got to put me in some events.
No, I don't give a shit.
There's a
You can have
Venetian
500.
5K. There's the closer. There's a 5K on Sunday at WSOP.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe. I'm playing the Venetian today. If I don't bag, I'm playing the 10K 6 Max tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then maybe.
Stop with your bullshit.
Maybe I'll play the 5K Turbo.
You were playing the 5K Turbo on Sunday.
I mean, the 10K Turbo was shocking. Shocking.
Really? Oh yeah, you guys are saying that.
I could not, but I got seated at a table with 7 recreationals.
How many entries were there?
A lot. It was like 700 at first.
Really?
It was shocking.
There's an $1,100 fucking satellite tonight at 8.
It popped.
Conrad didn't.
Satellite for what?
The 10K 6 Max Turbo.
Oh.
But first I gotta.
No, it's not a turbo.
It's
10K 6 Max is our levels.
sorry, I didn't mean to say turbo. But the 800 is also today, so I'm gonna try to bag that.
I really, really, really hope I bag the Venetian, but I also specifically hope I bag a lot of chips because the 10K 6 Max is one of my favorite events, and I don't want to miss it. But I would be so pumped to miss it, to actually run deep in a WPT where I could potentially win.
Wait,
Winning
run
is easier than 9th in the main, as we've discussed.
That's right.
It's pretty sad that you make late day 2 and not even cash, and then miss the 10K.
That would be
That'd be
the worst
atrocious.
case scenario.
Actually, I'm not sure if that's true. The 10K you may be able to buy into
Day
first
two?
level of day 2.
Okay.
But I really don't want to do that. I mean, I will, but I'm so exhausted of buying into tournaments with 25 blinds. It's such a shitty feeling because it's not even that you're doing anything wrong. You're just going to bust a lot of the
Yeah,
time.
you're just
I
gonna
love that
lose a
shit.
flip and be out a lot.
I love that shit.
Conrad
I
just
hate
calls
like
it.
that's the that is what I hate.
Play
I
more
don't
of them
want
that
to
way.
go and enter into a flip and go.
Well, the thing
Not
is
exactly
that
a flip and
the
go.
thing is that you're just fast tracking something that will always happen anyway.
Yeah.
So if I reg it from the start, at some point I'm gonna have to navigate 25 blinds.
Right.
And the only difference is my emotional investment.
Yes.
Right? So if at the end of max late reg, I have a 25 blind stack, I feel so much better about it than if I had just bought in.
Yeah.
Wow,
Because it's
really?
like, yeah, it's
You
like
of all people don't feel like that's time wasted?
Of course I know it's
do.
time
I
wasted.
Feel, yeah, I feel like it is.
I know
I'm
it's
like, I
time
could've
wasted,
just
but it's
bought it now.
hopium. I had built up 8 hours of believing that, I had a shot and trying to fade the landmines and everything else. And obviously if I bust right around that time or whatever, I'm miserable.
Is that the case if you had a ton of chips and then you ended up with 25 blinds? Wouldn't you rather
Oh
just
God, no.
walk-
Yeah, That's
No.
Same.
But
Okay,
if,
yeah.
if I have a ton of
That's what
chips and they get taken away from me, there's no scenario where I would be okay with it.
Okay, that's what I thought you meant. I was like, wait,
'Cause
what?
Usually, if I end up with 25 at the end of late reg, that is what happened.
You mean like
I
if you
had
just
chips
never
and
won a
lost
pot
them.
and you just end up with 25
Yeah, you're just like
blinds
grinding all day.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that was miserable. I should have came after dinner.
Yeah.
It makes me feel invested in the event. Like, I really put my best foot forward. Like, even today, I didn't realize it was the last day of the Venetian. I might have skipped the pot had I realized that. But I have to go get my payout to get cash. It's going to be 3:30 by the time I get there.
my car.
So it's like I'm going to be getting it at like level 4 or level 5. And now I don't feel like I've given this tournament my best, even though if I had signed up on time and busted at level 4 or level 5, I would have snap re-entered.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, honestly, it's just an emotional thing where I don't want to deal with the shortish stack play that doesn't allow you to go post so early in the event. But it's meaningless.
Yeah.
It's utterly meaningless. As long as you can at some point win a flip, get to 50 bigs, then you can just, navigate accordingly. You sit down and you see somebody with 100 blinds and you have 20 and it's just like, fuck you, man.
Exactly. Fuck you.
And he's looking at me going, I paid my dues. I was here. And it's like, yeah, I know. I get it.
Well, now I have to take
This
this
is
from
the
you.
silent
Sorry.
conversation that's going on between you guys.
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
We just exchange a quick glance
Yeah,
and a what's
exactly.
up. And that's exactly
what
what
happens.
exchange
But
was.
here's the good feeling, though. When you know, like, those chips are coming this way, and you were here for the last 8 levels.
That never happens, but when it does, on the rare occasions where it does,
Run it right
really,
up.
Honestly, like looking back, like just doing some reflection of any deep run that I've ever had in like WSOP, including like last year's 10K 6 max, all of them start the same way. I won a massive hand a couple levels into the day and never look back. Like if I
That's
can
ideal.
just like getting a hold of chips is so fucking important.
Yeah.
It is.
In the
That's
early
the
levels.
name of the game.
And what we actually accept as MTT players, or when we are MTT players, is that our sole goal is to get a lot of chips on day one. It's not to survive in advance. It's to accumulate a lot. And with that accumulation strategy comes busting a lot on day one. And the problem is that the busting of day one feels so fucking bad, and you feel like such a failure and such a loser that it dampens the times that, I played, 30 events this summer. Twice I ran up a stack on day one. Twice I made deep runs, right? And those don't stick out to me as much as the pain of the 27 events where I just had 20 fucking blinds all goddamn day and never did anything.
Yes.
Right? Because it feels so
Yeah.
out of your control.
Yes.
The pain is so absurd.
You're like, why? Like, that's how I felt on day 2 of the Millie Maker. I was just so card dead. I was like, why? And I'm watching all these people around me just cooler each other. And I'm like, why can't I want to play too, man?
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it reminds
can't
me of
do
like,
anything.
it reminds me when you're shot taking cash.
Yeah.
And you have like X amount of bullets and you have a decision to make of whether to add on a partial bullet or to fire it all.
Yes.
And you almost always decide to fire it all.
Yes.
And then you get cut down.
Yes.
And now you have 50 bigs.
Right.
And now you have to make a decision of, do you play the 50 blind stack in a high EV spot or do you quit?
Right.
Right? And the decision's always going to be to stay.
Yeah.
And all I'm sitting there doing is watching like cold calls of 3 bets for 15 blinds pre and saying to myself, I have to add on.
I know.
I need to find a way
I
to
know.
add on.
I know.
But you can't, because now you're playing a tournament. And that's like the most unsettling feeling in the world for a cash game
When
player.
everyone else is not playing a tournament and you are.
Yes. Which is exactly what the early levels of MTTs are, by the way. Everybody else, or you're the only one there who's playing a fucking tournament. Everybody else is just there to splash.
Yeah.
It's true.
All right, I got to get to work. Andre, you were so talkative today. I'm gonna miss you, buddy.
I'm leaving Sunday.
Yeah.
Where are you
I wasn't-
going? To tell the viewers.
I'm going to the East Coast. Then I'm going to Italy. Then I'm going to Malaysia.
He's
then
going
I'm
around
to,
the entire globe is what
Then
he's
I'm going
doing.
to Cyprus. I realize I'm going to Malaysia for an undisclosed amount of time. I have no clue how long. It might lead me to the end of August, and beginning of September I have to go to Cyprus, so I might not even come back.
Wow.
I might just stay in Malaysia and then go to Cyprus and then be back end of September.
Are you excited for this?
No, God no.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
so
traveling.
That's fascinating to me.
You're not excited. I'm fucking jealous.
No, I'm not jealous at all.
I'm not jealous,
so
at all.
jealous.
That's so much traveling.
Yeah, that's
Too much.
bro. You're
I love
traveling
that
for an
shit.
entire season.
Yeah.
It'll be winter when you get back.
Well, that's not true.
It'll be close
No, it'll be autumn.
for a little bit, for a
No.
smidge. You'll be here for a smidge of autumn. You'll be here for October,
Yeah, October is
and November
Autumn.
is winter.
No, it's not.
It's winter.
Winter doesn't start
It
till December
basically is.
21st.
Yeah.
You grew up in Pittsburgh. Winter fucking starts on September 2nd.
Well, we live in Vegas now, so
In the
it'll be
Midwest,
80 degrees in
I'm just
November.
exhausted.
Winter does start on October 2nd.
You know,
That's
you
what I
guys,
say.
you guys know to an extent, I'm very antisocial. So whenever I do these events with like Brian,
Oh, I get that.
I went home and I just sat by myself for 2 hours on the computer because I need to decompress from just being social.
Recharged. I actually had to do that like a couple of days.
What do you? What
Like,
is
wow, I
sleep?
haven't really recharged in a while.
I think I fell asleep pretty quickly last
You
night.
just
Yeah,
need
shocker.
to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But
Cut out the outside
it's interesting. I just, you know, there's a lot of I can't talk about a lot of stuff on.
Are you of the impression that this is like just an opportunity you can't pass on? Is that why?
I have no clue. That's why I'm going to Malaysia to figure this out.
Yeah.
I guess the TLDR for everybody at home is that I got offered a position in Malaysia with Triton, and I'm going to figure out whether or not it's a good fit. They want me. They're doing a lot of really cool stuff. And it's a big move because there's a lot of stuff that I'm doing here, obviously with you guys, with Run It Up guys. You know, Tom calls the WPT sometimes, and there's a lot of different places here that I feel I can still help, but
And also be home.
and also be home. And
It's
also
a
be
nice
home.
luxury.
But we'll see. I mean, everything's transitory,
Well,
right?
congratulations on the opportunity.
Yeah.
Excited to see you take advantage of it. I don't envy you one bit.
No.
I would probably negotiate around that much travel if I could. I hope it works out. I find an underling, man.
No. That's why I have like Guapo here. He's
No.
doing this.
No.
I know.
A remote underling.
I know. It's difficult, right? One of the hardest parts about Triton, in my opinion, they're based out of Malaysia. Malaysia is predominantly Muslim. You can't gamble.
Yeah.
So
Really?
you're not allowed to gamble if
I
you're
didn't even
Muslim.
know it was predominantly Muslim.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
Wow.
So there's not a rich poker scene there, right? When 40%, you're just axing 60% of the population. So a lot of the guys there, you know, they can use more poker knowledge. Not that I have a ton, but I definitely have more. And then I just have the weirdest resume of anyone,
Yeah.
right? I'm in production.
Yeah,
a little
you're
bit,
jack of
right?
all trades, master of. I don't want to finish that sentence. I don't think it's fair.
That's
I
the
think
thing.
you
I
are
do
master.
have-
I think you are master of some things. But the issue is that you're a boots on the ground kind of guy. Ever since I've known you, you've been
Sure.
that. And I think the problem is that doesn't scale very well.
Of course.
And
But I can be high level, right? Like at Run It Up, I was both.
right. I think at some point though,
I have to transition completely.
well, you have to build out more of you, right? Like
Of course.
we're not that special, yourself included. Like the skills that you've acquired are
Of course.
teachable.
Yeah.
And sure, maybe for like the 5 areas that you have expertise, you need 5 separate people. That's fine though.
So I think I even told them my actual job would be to come out there and just offload all this stuff
Yeah.
to the minions
Yeah.
there. And hopefully, you know, I can just leave after a year or something, 6 months. I don't even know if I'm going to do it, you know?
Sure.
How the hell is Malaysia predominantly Muslim? I'm sitting here. I had to go look at a map because I was like, wait, am I completely off on this?
geography.
Like, I know where it is. I know what it's in between. How is this even possible? Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand. Like,
I mean, Indonesia is predominantly Muslim as well.
I need to go back to social studies.
And then there's East Malaysia and West Malaysia too. Do you know about that?
No.
Okay, so East Malaysia is the one that's connected to Indonesia. West Malaysia is the side that's connected to like Thailand and stuff.
Okay.
And so I'm going to West Malaysia. Yeah,
Oh,
it is.
Very
so
interesting.
you're gonna land in Thailand for a little while.
Oh, I'm definitely going to Thailand. You know, they have, I don't know if they do. Last time I was there, 2009, they have $6 hour massages.
Let's take
What?
a month and go to Thailand.
It's like, yeah, I see Melissa's eyes right now.
$6 hour.
Let's just take a month
Yeah.
and go to Thailand. Let's just bring the podcast to fuck it.
You know,
This is fuck it.
it's not fuck it.
Guys, it's fuck it because we're going to say fuck it and we're going to bring the
I
podcast
was
there.
like,
Also, do you know of everyone in this room, Melissa's the only one who wants a happy ending at the massage parlor.
It's very
That's so
specific.
true.
I I don't want like a happy ending from some old woman. Like I don't. It's not. It's like I've gone to nice massage places and like it's like a younger guy, and I'm just like, is this the time that it's gonna happen? Like this is like he'll be like on my glutes, and I'm like, it's gonna happen. Buckle up. This is the time we've been waiting for. It never happens.
Oh man, I wish that I could actually believe that your viewpoints represent that of any other women.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so close to
That's
aligned.
never the case.
It's so closely aligned to like the way that we think.
Right.
That I just feel like it can't really represent other women.
Maybe though. Maybe they just
Every
don't talk
massage
about it.
any one of us have ever gotten, when they get to the quads, we're just like, oh yeah.
I'm like, it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
I saw the way he was looking.
Yeah, her hand's gonna slip.
Never
it's gonna go in her
happens.
thigh. It's gonna be over from there. It never happens.
I've watched too many movies.
Way too many movies.
I'm booking this house in Thailand.
They're movies, yeah.
Way too many movies. All right, I gotta go to work. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. As always, please like, subscribe, leave a comment below. Let us know who you're pulling for in the main event final table. Shout out to my man Espen. That's who we're rooting for here. Also Matthew Sue, big fan of his.
Asher's
let's
in
go,
there.
Asher.
Asher's in there too.
Let's go, Asher.
Yeah. Go Asher. He busted me out of the fucking WPT championship.
Okay, so no. Salty.
That's how he got his start, man. It was like the first.
Oh, the Borgata?
Yeah.
When he misclicked?
Yeah. He won the opener, or chopped it for like 100K. That was like his first score ever.
Yeah.
Parlays that into the 15K championship event, wins it.
Wow,
for like
sick.
$1 million.
Sick parlay.
And then never looks back. So yeah, I mean, like, he's had his run. He's in the final two with a goddamn main event
He
now.
played well though. He
he's
played
great.
well. His
Yeah.
pre-flop was great.
I'm busting his balls a little bit, but like he plays well. I'm just salty. I don't know how these stories come to be. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
This is the 7th place finisher of the 2,500.
Honestly, that's the thing. It's like there's someone out there who like has looked at the path or the timeline of my career and is just like, I don't understand. How does this guy do it? 5th in the super high roller bowl, 2nd in the circuit event for 200K, like 8 final tables. How does he do it? Like, he's a cash game player. But like, from my perspective, it's just like, how the fuck am I always there and never win any goddamn thing? You know, it's just like, what are we gonna do? I'm playing break even.
On the other side of the coin, Corey just wrote, yeah, Espen's had a rough summer.
Last WSOP, Somerville's old karate student, when he was like 15, the kid was like 5 or something like that. He came out, he's like, hey, I'm in Vegas. You wanna hang out? He comes to Vegas, and I'm gonna butcher this story a little bit, but he's like never played poker before in his life. Enters his first tournament, finishes 2nd.
Sure.
And he's just like, oh, I'm not bad at that. Okay, let me teach you a couple things. In that tournament, he had to ask like what full house beats what.
Oh no.
My god.
And then he goes to play his next tournament, and he binks.
Stop.
He wins his bracelet.
How
His
does
first
I would
bracelet.
love to just like follow, like see their hand.
This is why
history from
bracelets
that
don't mean
tournament.
anything.
He's 21 as well.
Here we
I would
go.
love to see the hand history from the tournament because I'm really like bewildered at how this happened.
This is why nothing matters. Nothing matters. Bracelets don't matter. Nothing means anything. I'm going to play WPT 5K today. Enjoy my donation. Like, subscribe, leave a comment below. We'll see you guys here tomorrow. We're going to preview the main event final table. We're going to talk about who we know, who we don't know, who we think is a favorite, and how annoying ICM can be. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you then.
Let's get it popping.